questions of the crowd. How many here have been to an OurCrowd event before? Please raise your hand. Okay, so I would say the majority of you have been with us before. This is our second annual Pesach breakfast here at the Waldorf. We actually were the first event ever last Pesach when they just opened it up. And this year we look like we have more people yet again, thanks to Donna and her fine investor relations team. I also want to ask another question. How many of you are living most of your lives abroad? Please raise your hands. Okay, so you get an idea that this is why we do this. It's a good mix. About half the people here coming from abroad, half domestic, main time residents. We are about building a community of people who are supporting Israel's startups, and we're very, very proud. Can I ask another question? How many of you have actually made an investment in OurCrowd? Raise your hand. I love it. Thank God. Bless you. Okay? In other words, this is really the strength of what we're doing. We hope those of you who are either here for the first time or still looking will join us. I want to run through quickly, and I mean that quickly, because we have, I think, some very, very important presentations coming. An overview of the year that was. What happened in that year since last Pesach. And the bottom line is you ain't seen nothing yet. Israel is on fire. You don't need Barry Levenfeld or myself to tell you that there's never been a better time for Israeli high-tech, never been a better time, okay, for the investment climate here. Last year broke all records. $3.4 billion invested in almost 700 startups. That was up 46% from the prior year. And let me just remind you, it seems like a long time ago, last year was a year of war, 50 days of missiles. Okay, an airport shut down. And yet, the investors didn't flee, they came in droves. Okay, I shouldn't use that word. And the bottom line is that it was 46% up last year. If you look at what's going on in the IPO scene, 20 Israeli IPOs last year. Okay, so we continue to be this huge dominant planet in terms of IPO activity. This is our representation in New York. If you look at what happened in terms of the M&A transactions, $15 billion. $15 billion in M&A, okay? And the average price is now approaching, actually over $200 million. Look where we were in 2008. So there's been an absolutely dramatic, fundamental shift in the size of Israeli companies that are exiting. This is really good news for us as early-stage investors in this market. Obviously, the most emblematic company was the company Waze that sold to Google for over $1 billion. But what most people do not realize is there's been an entire minion, 10 other companies that have actually exited at $1 billion plus or minus over the last 2 years. 10 Israeli companies. So that dig that Israel does, these little itty-bitty startups, lots of them, is no longer true. Israel is building billion-dollar companies, and of course the most important of them was Mobileye, our hometown Jerusalem favorite. Mobileye went public in the middle of the war, and today trades for quite a hefty market cap. I haven't seen the recent stock price, but it's been bouncing around between $6 billion and $8 billion. These are some of the exits we mentioned earlier. Our exit in Rewalk. Okay, the stats are incredible in terms of growing these companies. One of the dominant factors is the presence of serial entrepreneurs in the market. You're going to meet people today who are not just first-timers, okay, in terms of the kinds of companies they're building. And these kinds of guys, you're looking here at people like Shlomo Kramer's had $3 billion companies, and Uri from Waze. These are the guys who are driving this market. Victor Willens, who sold his recent company to Amazon. And what's also affecting the market now is the presence of private equity. Private equity is coming, bringing big checks, allowing these companies to develop and to get to bigger size. In addition to that, you've got what I would call the food fight of multinationals who are now competing with each other to buy these Israeli startups in unprecedented numbers. Now about 325 multinational research and development centers employing fully about half of our high-tech workforce. And Intel just made a $6 billion further investment, again a couple of weeks right after the war, essentially proving that despite the geopolitical situation, investors from abroad are coming here in large numbers in a big way. What's also dramatically different is the rise of Asia. You're seeing all of a sudden the Asians playing in this market in a way that they never have before. Okay, Samsung, just a little data point. Last year, the Korean giant made 8 different venture capital investments in Israel. That's a lot, right? If I had to actually look at the other venture funds other than us, I don't think anybody made 8 investments last year. That's a huge number. Singapore is looking for Israeli companies to take public. India is now getting into the act. Infosys, the giant Indian IT company, actually bought Panaya, opened up their first R&D center. So it's really an Asian century, and it's starting to affect us here in Israel. Now, these are some of the Chinese companies who've been active here. We see many of them coming through our offices. We have our own Mandarin speaker, Aurora. Raise your hand wherever you are. Okay, so if you speak Mandarin, see her. Okay, and someone's raising their hand over there. This is actually out of date. Mr. Li Ka-shing. Mr. Li Ka-shing, who is the leading investor in Asia, considered the Warren Buffett of Asia, he now has 29 investments in Israel. He has 60 investments total around the world. 29 of them are in Israel. And of course, he was backer of Waze. We have 3 companies with him. Alibaba is now backing JVP to do the hacking and whatnot. So this is just, it's getting good. Why it's going to get better is the trends that Israel essentially leads in are now the trends that the market is looking for. So cybersecurity is no longer a small niche market, it is the market. Big data is the market. The Internet of Things is incredibly important. So I'm very bullish on Israel because not only do we have these great numbers, not only do we have a whole cadre of serial entrepreneurs, Asian investors coming in, multinationals buying our companies, but the actual things that we make and do are now more in fashion. So just a couple of words about OurCrowd and crowdfunding. It turns out that we started 2 years ago. People like Barry and Eubank, who's our bank, took a huge risk to start working with us. Who knew what crowdfunding was? Ich weiß. What is it? Okay, we would sit with a company, like the companies you're seeing today, and we'd explain what we're about to do, and they'd look at us and say, excuse me? Today it's not happening. Today these companies are understanding crowdfunding. We've become the biggest investor in Israel. We're the biggest equity crowdfunding platform in the world. And we're leading this market. If you look at what we do is we provide a blend of venture capital and angel investing, giving you the freedom and the discretion and the fun of being an angel investor, together with the discipline and the professionalism and the wrapper and the protection of being part of the venture capital organization. So we give you all of the check boxes there. If you look at our process, we research and find these companies. The 2 that you will see today are companies that we selected carefully. We then essentially put our own money in, and then we invite you to join us in these investments. And the stats are good, and they keep on getting out of whack because they simply are growing every week, as you can imagine. And if this is our portfolio, I'm going to now take you for 2 seconds to our website, just to give you an idea. If you don't go to the website, you're missing it. Okay? If you go to the website without being an accredited investor, you're missing it. So I urge you to go to our website and take a look. So if we can switch into my website here, get the AV gentleman. Do we have the website? No, website. Thank you. Okay, so right now, the way it works is you're going to see site today. You're going to see a sneak preview. We have a couple of other companies up there. I want to mention just a few of them, and I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Elon Zvitovsky, who runs our deal team, to introduce our first speaker. Ubimo is a company up on the website. This is a company, by the way, and I don't know if you want to, should we have that slide for Ubimo to show? Let's go to that first slide. Ubimo is a company in the advertising technology space, which has a couple of really cool things going for it. Number one is that the founders of this company sold their first company to a very small multinational called Google. Google has bought about 5 companies in Israel. You're now getting the chance to back one of the teams that has already sold their first company to Google. Number 2, I call your attention to this little graph over there. This company is now at a $350, I think it's actually approaching today, $400,000 monthly run rate. This company believes in old-fashioned things like revenues. Pretty good. And number 3, this company we're investing in it together with a small fund here called Patango. You guys heard about Patango? They're the largest, I'm making a joke, just a few guffaws. Okay, Patango is the largest and probably most well-known Israeli venture capital fund. We're working with them. And number 2, we're co-investing with an Asian giant. Okay, I'm not allowed to put their name out in the public. All I can tell you is this Asian internet company shares the same shareholders as Alibaba. So figure it out, okay, Nishi Yavin Yavin. That's Ubimo, it's up on the site, take a look at it. Go back please to that other one. In addition to that, we have ExpressSpa, which is a private equity deal. It's our first private equity deal from the US, we just go up a little bit there on ExpressSpa. We're about $2 million into this deal, okay, and it's now headed, to about 4.5. They run a chain of massage and spa services in airports, 41 airports, about $40 million in revenue last year, and EBITDA positive. So take a look at that. If you like sort of secure investments, that's important. And last but not least, Global Kinetics is closing tomorrow. Global Kinetics is a company that makes a wearable, which looks like Apple Watch, except it measures the twitch and the tremor that a Parkinson's patient has. And it uses that data to feed back to their drugs and their medication such that you get a proper feedback loop. Instead of saying, "Doc, I feel better," the doc now knows exactly what's going on with a Parkinson's patient. This company, about $4 million in revenue, already in 100 different clinics, regulatory approval, very, very interesting company. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Elon Zvitovsky, who's going to tell you about 2 little companies and then introduce our first speaker.